There's no doubt about it. How to Train Your Dragon 3: The Hidden World was one epic movie, but the ending was kind of devastating. Thanks to fan theories and headcanons, we can now imagine a whole new ending. Check out these theories about what happens to Hiccup and Toothless after the third film.
You know, you two are going to get yourselves in serious trouble one of these days. Not everyone appreciates this way of life.
How to Train Your Dragon 3: The Hidden World hit us right in the feels. Between all the action was a story about friendship, growing up, and letting go. Hiccup realized that the world is just not ready to live with dragons. The magnificent beasts are still seen as monsters to most Vikings. Toothless and his girlfriend, Light Fury, discover the hidden world. Hiccup planned to move all of Berk and their dragons there, but he soon realized that wasn't the best plan. Humans don't belong in the hidden world, and the dragons will never truly be safe unless they are hidden. Hiccup makes the decision to let the dragons go. The goodbye scene between the Vikings and the dragons was so sad. Even though we know it was for the best, we didn't want it to happen. After Toothless leads the other dragons to the hidden world, Hiccup and Astrid are finally ready to get married. He fully accepts his responsibilities as chief of Berk. The final scene takes place a few years later. Hiccup has a beard and 2 children. He and Astrid take a boat with their kids to the waterfall that guards the hidden world. Toothless and the Light Fury are perched on rocks with their 3 baby dragons. At first, we aren't sure if Toothless remembers Hiccup, but he does. They reunite, and we start crying all over again. Astrid's dragon, Stormfly, also shows up. Astrid and Hiccup get to ride their pets one last time, and they show their children how awesome dragons are. Hiccup talks about the importance of guarding the secret of the dragons until the world is ready for them. But what if that isn't the end of the story? Let's take a look at some theories and headcanons about what happens after the movie. Family vacations. The first theory is definitely a realistic option. Hiccup obviously remembers how to get to the hidden world. In the final scene of the movie, his children are both really young. Hiccup and Astrid have obviously had their hands full for a few years, but now the kids are old enough for a trip to meet the dragons. So this theory suggests that the trip we see is the first of many. We know from the third movie that the hidden world isn't that far away, and Vikings are used to sailing on the cold seas. As long as the whole fleet from Berk isn't going to the edge of the world, the dragons are safe. No one is going to track Hiccup's one little boat. Why can't Hiccup and his family go to visit them all the time? Hiccup and Toothless are best friends. Once Hiccup is sure that Toothless is still there and remembers him, he would definitely want to come back. He can see his best friend every year if he wants. It's not too far-fetched of a theory. Some families visit Grandma and Grandpa every year. Other families go to Disney World. So Hiccup and Astrid can definitely head to the hidden world to visit their dragons too. Toothless and Stormfly are practically family anyways. Hiccup's kids can grow up learning to ride dragons. Toothless will teach his little dragons that Hiccup and Astrid are some of the good humans. The other residents of Berk probably miss their dragons a lot too. We bet the people of Berk love to take road trips. We mean boat trips.
Drago, what fist? Does anything you say make sense?
The next generation. We weren't the only ones who wished for a happier ending. There's a whole Reddit thread dedicated to alternate endings for Hiccup, Toothless, and the rest of Berk. One theory has a lot to do with Hiccup's kids. There is no doubt that Hiccup and Astrid's children would be amazing people. Astrid is tough, brilliant, and kind. She's loyal and brave. Hiccup is smart. He's a great leader and thinks outside of the box. He isn't afraid to take risks, and he always does what's right. They will be great parents, and they will raise their kids to be awesome Vikings. It's obvious from the last scene of the third movie that the kids loved the dragons. They were terrified at first, but they soon realized that there was nothing to be scared about. Hiccup and Astrid take them flying. This would definitely be one of the most important moments of their childhood. In the movie, Hiccup has several flashbacks of his father talking about the hidden world. It stays with him forever, and that's how he saves the dragons. Maybe this is foreshadowing. If he gives his children an experience that stays with them like his father's story, they might go on to do great things. Reddit user Halt1776 suggests that Astrid and Hiccup's children ride the children of Toothless. They become dragon riders and trainers in their own right. With Astrid and Hiccup's combined traits, they are able to finally bring peace to the world. Together, they are much stronger leaders than their father was. They can carry on his legacy. Dragons can re-enter the human world safely. We love this theory. Then dragons and humans could coexist again, and we love the idea that Hiccup's kids turn out even better than he did. After all, Hiccup's father, Stoic, was a great leader, but Hiccup is even better. Dark theories. Alright, we know not everyone loves a happy ending. The ending of How to Train Your Dragon 3 may not have been the happiest way to end the franchise, but it did tie everything up nicely, and all the Vikings and dragons got to live happily ever after, even though they weren't together. Reddit user Halt1776 came up with a few dark theories for what happens after the movies. The first dark theory is a pretty sad one. Hiccup says it's up to the people of Berk to keep the secret of the dragons and the hidden world. But now that Berk has no dragons, they're just a regular Viking village. And Hiccup isn't the warrior his father was. He did all his fighting with dragons. Vikings are warriors by nature. Just because the dragons are gone doesn't mean they'll all live in peace. There are probably bigger, stronger Viking villages. There are also conquerors from other parts of the world. If they decide to conquer Berk, can Berk survive? What if they can't? If Berk gets wiped out, the secret of the dragons will be lost forever. Whoa, that's a scary thought. The next dark theory has to do with Night and Light Furies. We know that Toothless is the last Night Fury. Thanks a lot, Drago. And it seems that his mate is the last Light Fury. They reproduce. But that's not enough to carry on a species or breed. The Fury breed of dragons will die out once Toothless's kids are gone. We don't know how long dragons live in the world of How to Train Your Dragon, but eventually, there will be no more Furies. They might mate with other breeds of dragons and create new mixed dragons, but either way, the Fury species will be lost forever. The last dark theory is super sad. We don't know how we feel about this one, but if Hiccup goes a long time without seeing Toothless again, Toothless could forget him. He's an animal after all. Sure, he's smart, but once wild animals are in their natural environments again, they stop trusting humans. This could definitely happen with dragons. They could basically return to their roots of being scared of humans since they've been without them for so long. It's a possibility. Let's hope Hiccup keeps visiting Toothless instead.
It's not so much what you look like, it's what's inside that he can't stand.
A new chief. In How to Train Your Dragon 2, Stoic was ready to retire. He decided to pass on his role as chief to his son, Hiccup. Problem was, Hiccup did not want to be chief of Berk because, well, he didn't know who he was yet. He didn't think he was a leader, although he knew better. After Stoic dies, Hiccup has no choice to rule. He becomes chief and leads his people and their dragons, and he's great at it. But let's not forget that being chief is never what he wanted. Throughout How to Train Your Dragon 3, Gobber is nagging him to take on the rest of his responsibilities as chief. Hiccup is focusing on rescuing dragons instead. This headcanon comes from Reddit user Ultrasonics1. He says that Hiccup might decide to give the role of the chief to someone else. We definitely believe this is something Hiccup would do. He takes on his role as chief well, but he would get bored. Hiccup was made to be an adventurer, an inventor, and a dragon rider. It's in his blood. Settling down and dealing with the boring daily demands of the village is so not Hiccup. The original poster for this idea suggested that Dagger would be a great option. Who's Dagger? Well, he wasn't in the movies. Dagger the Deranged is from DreamWorks Dragons the series. Dagger was Hiccup's arch nemesis turned ally in the show. He is the chief of the Berserker tribe. They form an alliance with Berk. If Hiccup continued to form alliances, these tribes could merge. If not, there are some decent chief options on Berk. Eret would be a great leader. He's a great warrior. He's brave and kind, and he's also really smart. Hiccup would definitely trust him. The rest of this theory suggests that Hiccup runs off and moves his family to the hidden world. We bet he would bring his mom Volka along too. She loves dragons just as much as him after all. Hiccup and Volka are totally meant to live among dragons. This is definitely a believable theory. Retirement. Okay, so maybe Hiccup wouldn't want to be a chief for very long, but maybe he actually enjoys it. Once the dragons are safe, he doesn't have to spend all his time worrying about saving them. He can focus on his people with way less stress. This is another theory from Halt1776 on Reddit. Let's imagine that Hiccup leads Berk for a long time, just like his dad. We know that chiefs can retire from the second movie. Once Hiccup's kids are old enough to rule, he can retire. He and Astrid get old and are ready to move on. What would Hiccup do once he retires? Well, he might not have much keeping him in Berk, and he said goodbye to his best friend a long time ago. Astrid was also really close to Stormfly. We kind of love the idea that this power couple retires to the hidden world. They would love to spend their golden years among all the dragons. Plus, their kids know where to find them. They can still come to visit. Lots of people like to move to fun destinations once they retire. Why should Hiccup and Astrid be any different? We bet Toothless would be thrilled to see them. We wonder if Toothless will have retired as Alpha and pass that role onto one of his kids. He always had a lot in common with Hiccup, you know.
I'll buddy his fist with my face if he tries to take my dragon.
The future. Hiccup made a big deal of saying that the world wasn't ready for dragons. dragons yet. Lots of people took this to mean that there would be a sequel. We aren't sure about that, but we like to imagine that one day the world will be ready for dragons. So does Reddit user Rocket the Raccoon. They pose the idea that dragons stay hidden until modern day. Then there is a new hero who befriends a dragon, and the world is finally ready to live in peace with them. This theory might not have to do with Toothless and Hiccup, but it's still awesome to think about. How would our world be if there were dragons? Can we get our hands on an adorable Night Fury? How to Train Your Dragon is based on a series of books by Cressida Cowell. There are 12 books in the series. They aren't exactly like the movies, but the ending is similar. Hiccup has the dragons go into hibernation since the world is not ready for them. They convince the world that dragons were a myth. Cressida Cowell intended for the books to be an alternative history. The story takes place in the real Viking world and is the reason dragons don't exist anymore. If the books are anything to go by, we won't get another movie, but we can still pretend that something happens after the final scene. Which of these theories about Hiccup and Toothless do you choose to believe? Let us know in the comments. Give this video a big thumbs up if you think Hiccup and Toothless are friendship goals. For more fun theory videos about your favorite fandoms, subscribe to The Things. Thanks for watching and see you next time.